"You'll never find someone better than me," he said with that smug little smirk, his arms crossed like a final judgment. But today, I wake up in his old penthouse. Wrapped in sheets made of Egyptian cotton. Wearing a ring worth more than his car. And lying next to his boss. The man who saw everything in me that Derek never could. My name's Ava. I'm 34 years old now, but this story starts when I was 27, naive, loyal, and very much in love with the wrong man. Derek was the kind of guy who could charm a room without trying. He had that effortless confidence, the designer suits, the smooth voice. He sold luxury real estate for a living and treated people like price tags. Either you added value to his image, or you didn't. I wish I'd seen that sooner. When we met, I was working as a brand strategist at a mid-sized firm, still figuring out what I wanted from life. He used to tell me I had potential, like I was some startup he was investing in, not a partner. And I fell for it. Hard. For 4 years, I poured myself into that relationship. Late nights cooking for him after he came home from happy hours with his coworkers. Skipping vacations so he could attend networking retreats. Smiling politely at real estate dinners while he talked over me. I thought that's what love looked like, sacrifice. But Derek. He never saw me as an equal. He saw me as convenient. Decorative. Dependable. Every time I brought up my dreams, starting my own agency, going back for my MBA, he'd scoff and say things like, "Why would you want more stress? Just stay in your lane, Ava. Be grateful." Like dreaming bigger was some kind of betrayal. He loved making me feel small. Subtle digs about my weight. My clothes. My boring job. And every time I pushed back, he'd remind me just how lucky I was to have him. I'll never forget the day I finally cracked. We were fighting, again. About something stupid, like me not RSVPing fast enough to one of his events. I told him I felt invisible. That I didn't feel valued. He just stared at me for a second and said, "You're not even in my league. You'll never find better than me, Ava. I'm the best you'll ever do." And in that moment, something broke. Not just my heart, but the illusion that loving him would ever be enough. Derek and I met during our senior year at university. He was magnetic, confident, ambitious, and always the center of attention at every party. I was drawn to him like a moth to a flame. He made me feel like I was part of something exciting, something bigger than myself. We moved in together just a few months after graduation. It felt like the natural next step, two young professionals chasing our dreams in the city. I landed a steady marketing job at a reputable firm. Derek, of course, went into high-end real estate, closing his first big deal within months. He wore his success like armor, and made sure everyone around him knew about it. At first, he was sweet and attentive. Flowers for no reason, surprise lunch dates, long conversations about our future. But that charm, it didn't last. The real Derek began to show himself slowly, like a mask slipping in stages. He started making little comments, harmless at first. Jokes about my outfits. My weight. How basic my office friends were. "You're too smart to settle for mediocrity," he'd say with a half smile. "Don't you want more than spreadsheets and boring coworkers?" At first, I took it as motivation. I thought he wanted me to level up with him. But it wasn't about lifting me up. It was about keeping me down. I started noticing the emotional distance. The way he'd stay glued to his phone during dinner, smiling at texts he wouldn't let me see. He began going out more, saying he had to network late into the night. Whenever I asked who he was with, he'd get defensive, accusing me of being clingy or paranoid. One night, I casually mentioned a woman I'd seen on his Instagram stories, someone he claimed was just a colleague. He rolled his eyes. "You're imagining things, Ava. Stop being so insecure. That's not attractive. That word, insecure, he weaponized it every chance he got. And it worked. I started doubting myself. I withdrew. I stopped asking questions. Meanwhile, Derek kept climbing. He was obsessed with status, bragging about his client list like trophies. Mr. Holden's invited me to his private golf club this weekend, he'd say, puffing up his chest. Only 10 agents in the company have ever been allowed. Mr. Holden. His boss. His idol. The name dropped at least once a week. But when it came to events, I was never invited. You wouldn't really fit in, babe. These people are elite. I don't want you to feel out of place. Then came the night that shifted something inside me. He didn't know I was home early, sitting quietly on the balcony. I overheard him laughing on the phone with one of his coworkers. His voice was full of arrogance and cruelty. Ava, she's a placeholder. I'll upgrade soon. That line. That one sentence cracked everything wide open. And for the first time, I stopped loving him. And started planning how to leave. It happened on a Tuesday night. Just a regular evening, until it wasn't. Derek had left his phone charging in the kitchen, screen lit up with messages from a number saved as work, client number 7. But the preview was anything but professional. I can't stop thinking about Saturday night. You make me feel alive. Wish I could fall asleep next to you again. My chest tightened. I scrolled further. It wasn't just one night, it was an ongoing thing. Weeks of intimate texts, late-night confessions, pet names. Photos. Jokes about me. About how she still thinks we're solid. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was calculated. Cruel. I waited for him in the living room, shaking, phone in hand. When he walked through the door, humming like nothing had happened, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just said, "Who is she, Derek?" He glanced at the phone in my hand, and for a split second, just one, he looked caught. But then, just like always, the mask came on. That smirk. That condescension. Wow. You went through my phone. That's real mature. So what, Ava? You want an apology? I didn't say anything. I just stood there, feeling like a stranger in my own home. He laughed. I told you, you're lucky to have me. You're too basic for a man like me. And then he started packing. Just like that. Threw a few shirts in his overnight bag, unplugged his laptop, and before I could even process the whiplash, he was at the door. You'll come crawling back, he said. Once you realize no one else wants you. The door slammed. And silence swallowed me whole. For weeks, I barely ate. I dragged myself to work, faked smiles, and fell apart the moment I got home. I blamed myself. Wondered if I had been boring. If I was too basic. But something inside me refused to stay broken. I started therapy. For the first time in years, I put myself at the top of my to-do list. I enrolled in an MBA program, something I'd shelved for too long. And when my old job started feeling too small, I left. That's how I found myself at Verite Luxe, a luxury branding firm with clients ranging from fashion houses to tech moguls. It felt intimidating at first. Big league stuff. High expectations, sharp heels, sharper minds. But I was ready. Funny thing. On my second week, I was handed a client portfolio to help rebrand a high-end real estate firm. Derek's firm. The woman I became after Derek left. She was nothing like the woman he walked out on. Therapy helped me silence his voice in my head. The one that told me I was too much, too little, too boring, too basic. I stopped trying to shrink myself to make others comfortable. I changed everything, my habits, my goals, even my wardrobe. No more dressing to match someone else's aesthetic. I wore what made me feel powerful. Work became my focus. At Verite Lux, I was finally in rooms that challenged me. Rooms where people listened when I spoke. I pitched bold ideas, led high-profile campaigns, and before long, my name started getting passed around at leadership meetings. And that's when he walked in. Mr. Holden. Tall. Reserved. Razor-sharp. The man Derek used to idolize, his elusive boss, mentioned like a myth. I'd heard Derek name-drop him constantly, as if proximity to power could rub off on him. At a black-tie networking gala, Mr. Holden and I were seated at the same table. We got to talking, about wine, architecture, even jazz. His intensity was quiet, not performative. When he asked me questions, he listened. Really listened. He had no idea I had ever known Derek. And I didn't tell him. Not because I was hiding it, but because it didn't matter anymore. Over the next few months, we kept running into each other at events and meetings. Eventually, he asked me out. It wasn't some whirlwind fairy tale. It was slow, steady, and deeply respectful. He never made me feel small. Never tried to dim my light. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. We kept it private, mostly. Just the two of us, exploring new restaurants, traveling, slow dancing in his living room after long days. Then, one Friday afternoon, he surprised me. I'm hosting a private weekend retreat with my executive team at my vineyard property, he said. I'd love for you to come with me. I said yes, not thinking twice. I packed a few outfits, left work early, and arrived at the estate nestled in Napa. I was sipping wine by the garden when a sleek black car pulled into the driveway. I smiled politely, expecting another executive, but the door opened, and out stepped Derek. And just like that, the past came crashing into the present. Derek stepped out of the car looking exactly the same, but somehow smaller. Still slick back hair, designer shades, and that fake swagger he used to wear like armor. But as soon as his eyes landed on me, sitting beside Mr. Holden, wine glass in hand, he froze. For a second, I saw the flicker of disbelief. Then came the smirk. Wow, he said, striding up like he belonged. Guess you upgraded jobs, and taste in men. I didn't respond. I just raised my glass slightly, calm, collected. Mr. Holden looked between us, a little confused. You two know each other? He asked. I smiled politely. Before I could say a word, Derek jumped in. We dated. A long time ago. I mean, it wasn't that serious. That did it. I turned to Mr. Holden and gently placed my hand over his. Actually, I said, keeping my voice steady, we lived together. For 4 years. Derek's smirk twitched. He used to tell me I was nothing, I added. Said I'd never find better than him. Silence. Mr. Holden's brows furrowed. He looked at Derek, then at me, then back again. His jaw tightened, not with jealousy, but something sharper. Disappointment. Disgust. Is that true? He asked Derek, his voice low and clipped. Derek chuckled nervously. Come on, Holden. She's clearly playing you. You think it's a coincidence she ended up at Verite? She's smart, I'll give her that, but she's always had this social climber vibe. I didn't flinch. Didn't blink. I didn't need to. Because Mr. Holden stood up. You're out of line, he said. And this isn't the first time I've heard concerns about your attitude. Derek's mouth opened slightly. His confidence draining with every second. We'll talk on Monday, Holden added. Privately. Derek tried to laugh it off, but no one was laughing with him. That weekend, I didn't bring it up again. I didn't need to. Mr. Holden didn't press me for details either. He simply held me tighter when we danced that night under the stars. A week later, Derek was quietly demoted, internal restructuring, they called it. He kept his job, but he was no longer leading major accounts. No more elite clients. No more executive invites. I never gloated. Never texted, never even looked his way again. But I knew. He saw me. Thriving. Confident. Untouchable. And I knew that silence, the dignity of my indifference, hurt him more than anything I could have said. I didn't get better to get revenge. I got better because I finally realized I deserved more. More than silence. More than apologies that came too late, if at all. More than crumbs of affection disguised as love. Derek taught me a painful lesson, but one I needed to learn. When someone tells you you're not enough, they're often just afraid you'll realize you are. He didn't break me. He revealed me. Every scar he left became a doorway to something better, because I chose to heal, not harden. Now, I wake up next to a man who listens. Who respects. Who laughs with me, not at me. Mr. Holden, William, isn't perfect, but he's real. Present. Kind. We're engaged now, planning a small wedding surrounded by people who never made me feel like I had to earn love. And the Ava I am today, she doesn't beg for space in someone else's life. She builds her own, and lets others earn their place in it. I don't follow Derek on social media. I muted him a long time ago. But occasionally, friends send me screenshots. Motivational quotes. Breakup memes. The same man who once called me too emotional now reposts daily affirmations about self-worth and growth. Ironic, considering how unmotivated he was to love me. But I don't laugh. I don't feel angry anymore. He's someone I used to know. A chapter in a book I've outgrown. And if karma found its way to him, it didn't need me to point the compass. Because here's the truth, sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living a life so full, so rich, so real, that they can't believe they lost you. And more importantly, you can't believe you ever begged them to stay.